Hello, we are live here. Ryan Gilbert joined by Jacob Russell here on the Flyers Hockey postgame show after the Flyers historic game in Colorado. First time losing or being shut out in 3 straight games in nearly 60 years of franchise history. So we got a bunch to talk about here, even though there's nothing really to talk about. Jacob, how you doing?
I almost fell asleep sometime during the third period. I was jolted awake when the goalie left the net and promptly fell back asleep before you woke me up to tell me to do the show. That was brutal. That's I mean, it's funny because it's not really how you expect to lose to Colorado. You expect them to roll you over. You expect McKinnon to blow by everybody, and he did score today, but you expect Makar to have a lightning, dash up the ice and fire one in. But that is like the most boring way you could ever lose a hockey game in Colorado. Like I love watching the Avalanche as a Western Conference team, right? Mm. It's good, not in the conference, right? Not in the division, so you can kind of root for them. And they got a lot of interesting and really fun players, but the Flyers dragged them down to their level tonight, man. They'll drag them right down to the depths. That was a dog's breakfast. I haven't used that phrase in probably
a dog's breakfast.
That was brutal.
I mean, the way we're talking about it, it makes it seem like it was like a 4-0, 5-0 win, but no, just a 2-0 win for the Avalanche. Scored both of them in the second period. Flyers had the first 8 or so shots on goal of the game. It looked like they were, getting pucks on net there, but eventually the Avs just took over. Shots on goal were 18-7 in the second period, where the Flames scored, or the Avalanche scored both of their goals. Sam Ersson was great today. 30 saves on 32 shots there, so a .937 save percentage. Love seeing that. He definitely deserves a higher save percentage than he has. But I mean, Flyers traded away. They're down Tippett. They're down Paling. They traded away 2 guys, didn't get 2 guys back, so they're down a third of their forward lines. And then Ristolainen leaves the game early in the second after the late in the second after that McKinnon power play goal. And I mean, Brian Boucher said it on the broadcast, like he's seen a lot of Eric Johnson out there, and anytime that happens, it's
good.
Not gonna be good. Not gonna be good.
I think Risto was just done with this one too. He's like, I'm out. I'll take off.
Yeah. So
hopefully I get to Winnipeg or something. Like no one's ever said that.
No one. Yeah, come on. No one wants to go to Winnipeg. Even as a Canadian, you don't want to go to Winnipeg.
That choice. No, I'll be honest. No, sorry.
No.
But
no, I mean, there was some not speculation even, or thoughts, but maybe Flyers fans hoping they had swung a bigger trade for maybe like a Pettersson or a big center with Ristolainen. But no, he's hurt. So hopefully for his sake, for the Flyers' sake, for Team Finland's sake, he's healthy. Because I mean, Finland's already without Heiskanen there, and someone else.
I don't even know,
right?
Yeah, Hakanpää is not going to be there, but Hakanpää, Yanni Hakanpää probably wasn't going to be there anyways.
Yeah.
He was on the roster basically as just a placeholder because I don't think they have really any more defensemen. It's kind of an NHL thing, but like I don't know where they're going to get more defensemen if Risto isn't able to go, because they're pulling guys who are literally not playing this year at this point. Olli Mata is going to be a second pair defenseman.
Is he a free agent this year? Does anyone have him or no?
No, he's on Utah. I believe.
Yes. Yeah, no, he is on Utah.
Maybe he's a Utah to be named later
at the moment. To be named later, yeah. But I mean, 2-0. Ersson looked good. I mean, the first period, the Avalanche just had so many passes across the Royal Road, got so many one-timers that could have easily been 2-0, 3-0 in the first period. But Ersson kept him in it. Couldn't get anything going on the late power play. Good to see Torts at least pull Ersson early, I guess, and them not give up an empty netter, but just a lackluster effort, really.
You're grasping at straws at that point, right? Like I almost wanted to put, when I was writing my notes, I almost wanted to put that it's a pretty good defensive game playing against the Avalanche and only giving up 2 goals, right? But it really wasn't. Like they didn't play that well defensively after the first period. Maybe there was a couple, like they started off pretty well in the first. But as you got into the second, that's when the Avalanche really turned it up. And those 2 goals are enough right now. I mean, as we were talking about before the show, first time in franchise history, shut out 3 games in a row. Islanders, Devils, Avalanche. I mean, the Islanders one really hurts because that's rough. But Yeah, that's it. They just don't have it right now. They look like a hockey team that is not very good. That's just simply how it is. And obviously, it hurts that Kuzmenko and Pelletier aren't there yet, and Frost and Farabee are gone, and there's that hole in the offense, that hole in the lineup. But at the same time, you expected them to bring something offensively, and you can't go 3 games without scoring a goal in the NHL. I mean, they're not that bad of a team. I think this is probably a wake-up call to some of the people who thought that, this might be a team that could push for higher aspirations. When they're hot, they can compete, they can score goals. When things are clicking, they can. But right now, it's famine, like feast or famine. It's famine. They don't got anything going offensively. That power play at the end of the game, you didn't even think they were gonna get close, and they didn't. They really didn't. Mishkov doesn't look as good as he has. His ice time's going down. I don't know how much he ended up playing. I think it was he was on pace for like 12 or 13 minutes. I don't end up.
He got 1649.
Okay, so he got 1649, probably mostly because of the power play at the end and the empty net.
Yeah, 5-on-5, just over 12 minutes there. So
okay.
Yeah.
So it's rough. It's tough, and I think this might be a reoccurring theme for the rest of the year here. Obviously, you don't know what Kuzmenko and Pelletier are going to bring when they show up, but it's there's not a lot of depth scoring on this team. There's not a lot of top end scoring on this team, and when Konechny's not doing it and Tippett's out, it's tough. You don't really have much there.
That's all you got. Yeah, and I was watching the final few minutes, seeing you got Hathaway out there. I love Gary, but like you don't have him out there at a 6-on-5. You have Anthony Richard out there on the power play. Like it just shows how. Well, yeah, when this Flyers team is healthy and not even full necessarily clicking, but when they're healthy, when they have Tippett, when they have Palin, but you lose one of those guys, especially Tippett, who's one of your only top 6 wingers. Like Konechny's the guy, and he has to do it. And I mean, his line with Cates and Forster and 9:21, they were outshot 12-4, outchanced 10-2. So like didn't end up giving a goal, but they could not get anything going offensively there. And I skated this out there in the game. Yeah, the Flyers like top 3 lines match the Avalanche's bottom 3 lines, but like then you have the best players in the world: McKinnon, Makar, perennial Hart Trophy, Norris Trophy candidates, and Nate just is fast as hell out there. I like how he looked good. Yeah, I like how
he had a couple chances too. Urson made some really good saves on him as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the difference. That's the difference between the Flyers and the Avalanche. The Flyers had 4 or 5 AHLers in the lineup, and the Avalanche have that many world-class players.
Yeah, like when Anthony Richard came back up and then 5 days later was on PP2, I put that in the story I wrote last week on BSH on the site, talking about the Flyers power play, which is currently in a 2 for 22 stretch over its last 10 games, which is abysmal as usual. And when Anthony Richard came back up, which he did deserve to come back up, I'm not saying that. I think he's brought a little bit of pop when he's, and you need somebody who's trying to score or has some instinct to score, anybody. But you can't just launch him out there on PP2. That's not a good sign. And you can tell that they're struggling to score. It's getting to feel like nothing's going to go in, and they're not even really generating grade A chances. There's much more of a chance that this could have been like a 5-6-0 game rather than a game that the Flyers could have won. As we said, Urson was really good tonight, and he's getting hung out to dry right now because there's no margin for error. Like there's no offensive firepower on this team right now. And, when you get everybody back, when Tippett comes back, hopefully when the new guys come into the lineup, maybe it changes, but I can't see it resolving itself to a level where it becomes above league average. It's
league average would be great. League average would be great.
League average would be phenomenal, right? Like at this point, and ugh, that was an ugly one. That was an ugly one. That was one you don't really you watch and it's nothing really to take from it. You know, it's not even a burn the tape game where you get shut out at where you get blown out. It's just a game where you are not as good as the other team. You can see it the entire game. They're
Yeah,
just
it's a good.
worse.
It's a game where you're rebuilding and the Avalanche are trying to win a cup game. Like that just shows the difference in where they're at. And yeah, you can't be upset. You can't be mad. Like I see fans on social media like complaining about the Flyers are back, the real Flyers are back, whatever. But and that's going to happen when they don't score in 3 games. Like score a goal, sure. But I also
Yeah.
think the shutout streak should have an asterisk on it because Michkov scored a power play goal against the Islanders and it was called back by Morgan Frost. But so like all I'm saying is this is why it didn't happen back in the day, because back in the day that goal would have counted and it would have been 3 games in a row. So you wonder how many iffy goals they had then, but still, yeah, they have to get something. I know Blackwood's been great for the Avalanche. Sorokin's been incredible, but was it Jake Allen before that for the
Yeah,
Devils? Like,
and Sorokin's been very good recently, but he's had games. You know, he's always capable of games where you can get to him. Same with Blackwood, right? As of recent, they've been good, but there have been times in the past. This isn't Vasilevsky and Shesterkin type guys, right? At their peak, right? At their very peak of their powers. And yeah, it's rough. It's rough to watch, and it doesn't even seem like they're even getting consistent opportunities. Like that's the problem that I have, right? If you're getting a lot of shots and they're just not going in, like the Avalanche today, if they only scored 1 goal, like 5-on-5, and then the Flyers somehow tie it up and they go to overtime, then you can kind of look at the Avalanche can look at that and say, well, puck just didn't go in tonight. The Flyers can't say that. The Flyers aren't generating anywhere near enough grade A chances to win an NHL hockey game at this point. Like it's not even close. And it sucks more so because you can see these guys are really trying defensively. They're really still pressing. Like it's not like the team's giving up. It's not like in years past where you can kind of see a downshift. Like these guys are trying. They're just not that good.
yeah, like Torch can only do so much. You see York out there blocking shots. You see Forster blocking shots and Payne on the bench. Like these guys are trying. These guys are playing John Tortorella hockey, and it's going to take a toll at some point, especially when you're not scoring and like the pressure is on the goalie. The pressure's on Ersson. If he allows more than 2 in a game, the Flyers probably aren't winning, especially against either a team like the Avalanche or a goalie like Shesterkin or Sorokin, as we've seen in recent games here. And yeah, like the Flyers didn't even generate enough. They had 9 shot attempts at 5-on-5 in the third period, 16 overall, 3 high danger chances in that period, which was pretty much on par for each period. But I don't remember them like thinking back, like maybe that Lawton chance before they scored, but there's nothing really. You look at like, okay, that was a great chance, got robbed there, got goalied. So, but that's also like kind of not having 4 of their guys. Tippett's hurt, counting Paling in there, and then Kuzmenko and Pelletier. I mean, should really be exciting guys, and we hope they would debut today, but due to some visa issues going from Canada to US, they might not play even on Tuesday in Utah or something. So
I don't know how that's the case, but whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense how they haven't solved this.
Do these guys not go over the border? Like
they're because they're employed by a Canadian company rather than a
I get
American
it, but at the same time, it can't be this. Trades happen every day. Okay, not every day, every year. Like this is a frequent occurrence. How is whatever? Regardless of that,
I agree. I agree. Yeah, let these guys play. Like yeah, but
it's not a surprise that guys are trading. They may never play again. Yeah, they may never play again. You never know.
Yeah, Flyers may have to give up like a 25%. Get a 25% better draft pick from the
God, let's not even get into it. Let's not get into it.
Yeah.
You said Noah Cates was okay.
Noah Cates, I think Noah Cates had an impressive shift or two against the top lines. Like he's played well. He had that goal against the Panthers against Barkov to win that game against them. But yeah, Cates is the 1C now. That's what the Flyers have at center.
It's insane. It's insane. I love Noah Cates. He's had a great season, a fantastic season. But you're asking him to play against Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah,
let's be real here, man. Like it's brutal. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. Functionally, there are games where Tortorella's preferred top two centers when everyone's healthy are Noah Cates and Ryan Paling. I mean, it's just that's not a team that's going to be able to score at a consistent level. And I also put this. I'm going to keep plugging my own articles, but I also put this in that article I wrote about the power play as well. The way that they're playing right now and the way that they're not generating shots, they're basically forced to try and finesse plays in the offensive zone because they don't think they're going to get another chance to score, right? They need to fashion a really good opportunity, a grade A chance, because they're just not creating enough. Like you see on the power play, even at the end of the game, and with the goalie pulled, they have an extra man and there's nothing good. Like you should be getting a one-timer from the circle, a shot from the point with some traffic, anything, cross seam passes. This isn't like I'm asking them to go on, a one-on-one rush and dangle out Sam Girard and leave him flailing at the blue line, right? You just need to make some passes, get some pucks on net, and they don't even seem to be capable of doing that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like there are some games where it looks visually better. Like against the Islanders, even they had a few nice plays down low to get a shot right out in front. But yeah, the end of the game there was just pathetic, and it got to the point where I wouldn't have been surprised if when the power play expired, Torch just put Ersson back in the game as like the kind of a fuck you to his team. But I imagine that would have happened if they got an empty netter. But down two, I mean, anything could happen there. So, but yeah, it's bad, and just I mean, there's not really much more we can say about this game.
Yeah, I'd imagine that Torts is at least somewhat aware, probably not of the record. Obviously, I don't think Torts is the type of guy who thinks about stuff like that, but he's definitely aware that the last two games they have been shut out, and he's like, I try to break the seal here, get one going into the next game, try and create some momentum, anything, but no, it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Kuzmenko and Pelletier. I really do hope Kuzmenko gets a chance on that PP1 and show off his shot a little bit. But
you can get on there if you want.
I'm a big body. I can go in front of the net.
Yeah, just stand there. Seriously, I have I don't believe there's anyone in this organization. And there was a comment earlier that said the power play has never been league average under Rocky Thompson. Power play sucked before Rocky Thompson got here. Power play sucked when Giroux was here. I just don't think the organization knows how to do it. Because the shorthanded play, penalty kill's always been good. Penalty kill's been quite good at times, right? And they score goals, and it's not like all of the special teams are horrible, and it's not like you need a all-star roster to figure out how to run a power play in the NHL. But I have no faith that anyone in this organization knows how to run one at this point. They've tried a couple different guys, but ever since Joe Mullen left back in when I was friggin' 15 or whatever, it hasn't been good, and it's continued to be terrible. And it seems like they're just giving up on it now. And it's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah, like the power play has always been bad, and fans are like, oh, remember when we had Giroux and Hartnell in the slot, but people are nostalgic about a league average power play.
It still should have been better then.
Yes, it should have been better
Giroux on the half wall in his prime.
Yeah,
and Jake Voracek, love him or hate him for some people in the fan base, right? They got the puck around the ice. They passed the puck. They knew what they wanted to do, and they still were not capable of ever lucking into a top 10 power play, a top 12 power play. Like a playoff level power play, right? Like something that should be feared. At the very best, it was like, yeah, okay, it's 15th ranked. It's fine.
Well,
that was the elite times.
I mean, no, here the 14-15 season when they didn't even make the playoffs is their best power play since 2010, 23.4%, which was third in the league. So that was an impressive one, but they still only managed 84 points that season.
That was also a decade ago.
A decade ago, yeah. Make me fucking feel old here. Flyers 12-13 that the shortened season had 21.6, 29 or 09-10, 21.5. 20.8, 20.7. Like, but yeah, these past few years, 12.2,
Oh, trust me, I've been
12.6,
looking.
15.6, 15.7. Like, league averages are
They got
trending
down
up.
to below 13, didn't they? A couple years, haven't they? I think they're below 13 right now.
Well,
I think they're at like 12.5.
Last year they were 12.2.
Oh.
This year they're 15.7, which seems high, but
Yeah,
but
maybe
yeah.
I was thinking of last year. Yeah, last year was brutal.
Last year was absolutely awful. And yeah, league average right now is 21.3. It was 20.9 last year. It's above 20% for the past 5 years, and the Flyers are 60, 70% of that. It's just pathetic.
Like the Blackhawks are top half of the league in power play. I don't know if they're top 10 still, but the Blackhawks are a horrible hockey team. They have Patrick Maroon in front of the net on the power play in 2025.
Yeah, they're 10th. They're 10th right now. They're above the Capitals, right above the Capitals. So you think about Ovechkin, Carlson, maybe Wilson. That's all. That's what they
The
have.
Blackhawks are putting like Alex Vlasic, love him, great defenseman, but he's the power play quarterback. You know, they got Connor Bedard and a bunch of dudes. They got Philip Kurashev on the power play. Like you should not be this bad, and it's a complete organizational failing. And it's at this point, to me, it's up there with the goaltending in like something that the organization needs to correct, or else like you can't have bad goaltending and a bad power play. Like you'll never be good. Point blank. You'll never win multiple playoff rounds, no matter how good you are at 5-on-5 and shorthanded.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely not. You need goaltend. Whoever wins special teams battle last year in the playoffs won that series, I think, up until the Stanley Cup final, because the Oilers had a great power play, but even better penalty kill last year. We know what, the Panthers did, obviously. And it's not even like the Flyers have a good penalty kill anymore. They have the 11th worst right now. The power kill has gone completely out the window. They haven't had a shorty in quite some time. But so, yeah, they don't have goaltending. They don't have special teams. They have 5-on-5, but I mean, those numbers might just be a bit inflated based on how they play.
Yeah, a lot of rush chances too, right? That's what they were feasting on in the start of the season. And yeah, it seems like whenever they have to set something up offensively, whenever they have to think about making a play, out the window, which is not good. No. Usually, when you have more time, it's easier to score.
Yeah, you're supposed to want time and space. You're not supposed to like want everyone up on you.
No, I have space. I have to think now.
No, what do I do? What do I do? So, yeah, I'm not really sure if there's anything else happened this game that I was need to talk about. You have any notes left over?
What do I got?
Well, while you're looking here, we have a comment from one Thomas Williams saying Shaw spoke about teams figuring out their power kill from last year, and that's why we're not seeing the shorthanded goals. So
I did want to add Jacob Gaucher. Gaucher? Right?
Gaucher.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I thought it was Gaucher, but make sure he played. He played in the NHL.
He was out there.
He played in the NHL. He was out there.
His family was there to watch him out there on the ice.
Yep, very good for them. His brother Nathan in the AHL, they were saying. I remember him actually more than Jacob, honestly. My note about him is that he played, and that's it. And he has my name, and that's good. 2 Jacobs.
How many? Year. Who's the other Jacob? Who am I forgetting?
When Pelletier shows up, he's got a K though. So
he's got a K though. I don't know. I don't know how you Jacobs feel about the other Jacobs.
I'm very welcoming.
You're just welcoming of all Jacobs.
Yeah. You can spell it however you want. Yeah, if you pronounce it Jacob, it's the pronunciation for me.
What about
I think.
What about Jakob? What if it's Jakub and they go Jakob?
That was always
like Voracek.
Voracek, yeah. He blocked me on Twitter too, back in the day. So
who didn't he block though?
Yeah, that's true. No, so that one's a bit different. I don't know. That one's a gray area for me. But 2 Jacobs. That's all I got for him.
Yeah, he played, I believe, a team low 8 minutes. I just had up; it's not loading now. But he played in the NHL there, and also Emil Andre back up. Hopefully, for longer than just the AHL All-Star break. But that is what it is now. That's why they called up Kolosov. That's why they called up all these guys. Andre did not play well though. 16 shot attempts, against 6-4, 10-3 scoring chances in the Avalanche's favor there. So
yeah, a couple bobbles of the puck too. He really looks small tonight too. I found it sometimes like he looked like he was getting a little shoved around. Yeah, he didn't look good, but nobody looked good to be honest. So
and
he's an offensive defenseman. The offense was terrible all night.
Yeah, and they had 7 defensemen. He played 825 with Drysdale, 552 with Risto. I think that was the plan going in, and then kind of got thrown into the blender with Risto.
I do not like Andre and Drysdale.
No,
that's brutal.
That's
brutal.
Maybe like if you could combine their forces into one super offensive defenseman, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
But not together, separately. No.
That's ugly. I would prefer not to see that ever again. But great game.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking before. I've talked about the trade twice now live after it happened on Thursday. I went live with Thomas and Kelly on Saturday, watching some highlights of those two guys. So just wanted to see if you had any thoughts you wanted to get off your chest here.
Yeah. So, first off, I just want to I don't think that Morgan Frost really has any value to any other team. I've been of the opinion on Morgan Frost that he's not a bad NHL player, but the problem with him is he just doesn't seem to be offensively talented enough to be a top 6 center on a decent team. And he also he doesn't play the type of game that will make him a bottom 6 center, especially on this team, right? That's not the type of player that Torts ever would have wanted as a bottom 6 center, right? So it was always going to end with Frost, and trading him, unfortunately, it's not going to move the needle for a lot of teams. Farabee, that one is a bit more complicated to me because he did have a really good presence in the room, a really good rapport amongst the fan base, right? He was really well liked. And he had 50 points last year. He has been decent the past couple of seasons, but he's never taken that step, right? He's never taken that step to really justify his lofty selection in the draft, right? He was a mid first round pick back when he was taken, and whether that be because of the Flyers development or who they've played him with, he just simply hasn't taken that next step to become a 60, 70 point player or a guy who, like Owen Tippett, you could kind of see him scoring 30 plus goals in an NHL season. Right now, I see him more as a guy to get the puck in deep, dig it out. And I watched the Flames yesterday, their debut against the Red Wings. And that's what they were playing. They're playing Kadri, him with Kadri, and I believe they're playing Kadri. He was on the line.
Huberdeau's up there.
Huberdeau, yes,
line,
Huberdeau, first line. And they were even talking on the broadcast. The Calgary broadcasters were talking. Farabee is he took over Pospisil's role, and he's basically just the puck retriever. He's going to get the puck, get it to Huberdeau, and they're going to try and get it to Huberdeau, get it to Kadri, and try to spread it out. But he's just going to be the guy who's going to get the puck, pick it up, and try and get dirty in the corners and get to the front of the net. And that's what he's going to have to do if he wants to play up the lineup. But yeah, I don't mind the return. I think getting another second round pick is good. But the draft isn't entirely deep. It's not, like last year where I think you could really get some good value in the second round if you were to get a high second round pick, right? And some guys fell. But I think it gives you some more flexibility heading towards the draft if you want to make a deal. And I'm hoping that they package 1 or 2 of the first and a second and try and really take a swing at somebody young, a young center or somebody who's a project on forward, or a bigger defenseman. Maybe even wouldn't be the worst thing if you do end up trading Risto, right? But yeah, outside of that, Pelletier, he's came with some pedigree. He was on the Canadian World Junior team. He had a really good year tournament there back in the day, but he's never really gotten a chance to prove himself in Calgary. But I've always had this feeling about Calgary, like even with Connor Zary and Matt Coronado for a bit there, they they were a bit hesitant to kind of put those guys in the lineup. And like the Flyers, they do have a bit of a logjam as wingers go. So, that's remains to be seen. I think Pellissier is a buy low guy, and you can see if he can find something and in Philly, and they can try and turn him into something. Kuzmenko's really interesting, and I think I really like Kuzmenko for the fact that you're getting rid of Farabee, who had a really strong connection with a lot of the core of the team that has been established already, right? With the Konechny's and Couturier's and the guys who have been around, right? But Kuzmenko will hopefully, playing with at SKA with Mishkov and being the leading scorer when Mishkov was at SKA. Hopefully he can be somebody who kind of ushers Matvey into his career, kind of helps him out, and maybe play with him on the power play on a line with him, perhaps, if you want to really shoehorn it in there, and get some chemistry going with those two. And he is the guy in the trade who has had the most success and output at the NHL level, right? That 37 goal season. It is a bit skewed because of who he was playing with, right? And obviously he's not going to be playing with anyone who is nearly as good here, more than likely for a minute, or at least for the rest of this season. But I like the idea of getting Kuzmenko. Torts will hate him, but Torts also hated Morgan Frost, so it's 1-for-1 at that point. Yeah, you get off that Farabee money, 3 years left at $5 million. It's not horrible. It's not backbreaking, but it is just kind of $5 million put into a guy you could probably get for 2.5, or replace with a guy from I look at Morgan Frost in particular, and I see a guy who will maybe move to the wing at some point if he wants to play up the lineup. And at that point, if he's going to be a third line scoring winger, how much better is he than like Ule Lixell? Really?
AHL All-Star Ule Lixell there. So yeah.
Like, you give both guys 82 games, Frost will be better, but he's going to want to raise, I'd assume.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to be a huge contract, but I mean, it's just, you need Luchenko's coming, Barkey's coming. There's guys who are going to come up through the system. They have a absolute boatload of picks, right? So they're going to make more selections and get some guys, even if they do trade some picks. So, I really don't have a strong opinion either way. I know Steve was I was watching it at work. I was listening to the trade reactions at work, because everyone, obviously I work with a bunch of hockey people. So we were all freaking out. I heard Risto was getting traded for a bit, and Saravalli was just throwing names out there willy-nilly for a bit, as he does. Sidney Crosby is going to the Avalanche, by the way. It's going to happen. And yeah, so I heard a bunch of different things, but I don't have a huge. I think they're both replaceable. I know why. Like, there is a familiarity with them, and they have been here for a while at this point. But at the end of the day, team's mid, man. They're kind of mid. That's just
both
what it
teams,
is.
the Flyers and the Flames. Like, it's
I personally, I don't think anyone really wins the trade. I think the Flames are. I really don't know why the Flames wanted to do that.
Well,
particular, like, I don't think it doesn't take them.
They're in a playoff spot.
Yeah, but I don't think it makes them better.
Vancouver's imploding. It makes them better. I think it makes sense from both teams' perspective. From the Flames, you're getting a more established NHL center, NHL winger, giving up Pelletier, who they waived before, people keep pointing out, which is true. And he's been up and down from the AHL. So, like, he's not going to ever fit. Like you said, they had a log jam as well. And I mean, I imagine they were going to flip Kuzmenko at the deadline, or sell Kuzmenko at the deadline anyway. So that's not really a thing for them. But it was interesting hearing you say, like, because who is the best player in this deal? Like, that's whoever wins the deal is who gets the best player. And in a deal like this, you can't really come to a determination. So,
no,
you look at the 4 players. Flyers also got a second round pick. Flyers got the money off the books. Flyers got 2 guys that could perform just as well as Farabee and Frost, and they're younger. In theory, yeah. So, like, I mean,
it's not like Kuzmenko's old either, right?
Yeah,
Like
he's 28.
he's has had a couple years. He's in his third season in the NHL.
Yeah,
I think he's 28.
yeah.
So I mean, like he could take a step. He playing with Mishkov, it could help him. There's a total chance that he can rediscover that form. I don't want to say it like I don't want to sound like Farabee and Frost are bad hockey players, right? I think I might sound a little harsh. I like Joel Farabee. I think he'll make the Flames better than not having Joel Farabee. I just don't think it improves them to the point where if you play Colorado, Dallas in a playoff series, Winnipeg in a playoff series, Vegas in a playoff series, that's 14.
Winnipeg just chokes in the first round though. They could take down Winnipeg.
Yeah, but that's only against teams from America.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Canadian teams cancel each other out. They choke at the same time.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it just goes 7. Both.
Yeah.
Teams,
it goes 7, and then the roll of dice and see who does it. I don't know. Flip a coin.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Like, yeah, Frost, Farabee. It makes sense for both sides given where the teams are at. Flyers rebuilding, Flames. Doing whatever they're doing, just staying right there in the middle. Calgary.
I did a little bit of coverage of the Flames briefly when they were going on their playoff run a couple of years ago. And they just have never had, once the Kachuk left and, that sort of core imploded, they've kind of just been scrambling to try and find more, try to build depth, right? Try to build depth rather than have those star players at the top. Obviously the Huberdeau thing hasn't necessarily worked out. But yeah, they'll get 2 decent NHL players. They can make a decision on Frost. Obviously I don't think if he's gonna ask for something like $4 million, I mean, I don't want to pay that if I was the Flyers personally for Morgan Frost. And Farabee, he could very well, if he scores 50 points every year for the next 3 years, I'd pay that for Joel Farabee 100%, but that's not guaranteed.
Yeah, that's not guaranteed. Yeah, I was watching the game last night too. They kept being, Farabee put up 50 points last year, scored 20 goals twice in his career. That was 3-4 years ago at this point for him. So yeah, I mean, I think he'll make them better, but the Flames also have to take advantage of Dustin Wolf on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
They have this year and next year where they can take on some extra money and see if they can go on a run, win a round or two with him, because he's looking like the real deal.
That does line up well. His money, Farabee's money, like the 3 years, kind of lines up well with that. I am, just to get back to what the Flyers didn't get. I am disappointed they didn't get a center. I really think if they got some sort of center, and not like the Flames have many either, right? But if they got some sort of center, I think I would have been a lot more bullish on the trade, and I think I would have thought that they won if they get a center and a second, regardless of what Pelletier turns into, right? That's more of a wild card. I think I'd be a lot more excited about the return. Because again, there's so much of a logjam on the wings of guys who are like mid 6 or bottom 6 wingers on a good team, that it's kind of tough to really see and parse through who's going to be here in the long term, right? Like the Forster Cates Brink line was a revelation, like late December into January, but that was never going to last forever. Mm-hmm. And now you're just going to have even more guys added into this blender, and the lines just mixed up, and there's nobody in the middle who can like have a cohesive line, right? Like carry a cohesive line. Yeah. I think you could get that with Couturier, but Torts does not like Sean Couturier. That's what I'm coming to this realization, that he just doesn't like him. I don't know why he made him captain.
Yeah, that didn't make sense. Like I think they put Couturier with Michkov and Kuzmenko. Let him play slow. Let him.
I would like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just stick with that, and then you play maybe Konechny, Cates.
Forster
Ring.
there, or Pelletier.
Pelletier's. I would put Pelletier up there.
Yeah, no.
I would put him on the
Pelletier.
Third line somewhere.
Lawton in the third lines. I mean, we're pining for Ryan Palin to come back now. That's where we're at. And yeah, that's what you said. If Kuzmenko or Pelletier was a center, I think this is a much more clear win for the Flyers. So it's a matter of seeing, when does Danny get that center? Is it before Four Nations? Is it before the trade deadline? Do they go the rest of this year with this as their center group? I think that is what determines it. But also looking back at this trade in 5 years, I don't think it's going to be a win or a loss really either way. It's because it's
Yeah.
worth doing right now for them. Get younger, get the picks, get more flexibility, both in terms of trading those picks and also cap room.
It's hard to have a real opinion until you see what they do with the assets they have. I think you have to swing a deal for a center at some point leading into the offseason, or whether you head into the summer and do it. I think you need to do something there. Jet Luchenko is going to show up. Noah Cates will be here. Those are two solid centers, in my opinion and in my estimation. Lawton can play center on the fourth line. Paling can play center, and he's looked good. I've liked Brian Paling this year. And Scott Lawton, when he's playing well, he's fine. The problem is that top line guy. And I think like Nazem Kadri was not the answer to this question, but a guy like that, maybe a little younger. Casey Middlestat's intriguing as a name, but even then, I don't think he's good enough.
The name, the name I keep coming back to, and I brought it up with Thomas, and I think he brought it up in the Slack last week. Sam Bennett, free agent, plays second line in Florida. I mean, I know.
I just don't like him.
Sam Bennett.
I'm ready for them to play Sam Bennett and scratch Konechny and have another Giroux Kunitz moment from my childhood. And I'm gonna lose it again.
Yeah, or I mean, Rossi's a RFA. McTavish, Zegras is healthy again. Cousins is out
Wyatt
there.
Johnson. I would give Wyatt Johnson $14 million tomorrow. RFA.
I would tell the Stars we're offer sheeting this guy.
Whatever you guys don't want to match, I am going to pay that.
Yeah. Or I think they could end up getting like a Maverick Bork, or I don't think Stankoven plays center in like a Risto trade.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because why do the Stars want to give up those guys? Maverick Bork, maybe. I could see that.
Maverick Bork they don't want to give up Johnson, especially during a playoff run. Like that would be an offseason move.
Yeah. They just need more elite talent. Like that's it. Offensively, especially. You can get by with a solid decor with maybe not necessarily a number one guy. I think you can do that more so in the NHL now. Like I look at even the Maple Leafs, right? In their best configuration, right? They don't necessarily have a number one guy. It's Tanev, it's McCabe, it's Riley. Riley sucked, but if he was good, Ekman Larson. These are that's four really solid defensemen who have different skill sets. I think you can build something like that and have a decent decor. But I think on forward, you need the guy, and I don't see how you acquire that necessarily without dumping some picks and really going for it. Dylan Strome.
Thomas can't be here, so we're gonna read his comments. Find the Flyers. Dylan Strome. Parentheses. Some dumb team might not qualify a good RFA. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, or like a Pierre-Luc Dubois, someone like that, just needed a change of scenery.
Oh, Torts will love him.
Or like a Pierre-Luc Dubois. But speaking of Torts liking people, I thought when you brought up Farabee being traded for Kuzmenko, could this be the Russian Brotherhood taking over in Philly? They got Fedotov over here. They got Kolosov, Michkov kind of running the whole circus.
It's crazy.
Got Samula,
crazy how things changed. They're also looking at that guy from Tractor, at Chebelinks out in the KHL, Shabanov, right? Shabanov. And so another 5'8" small guy who plays wing is probably a middle six winger. That's great. But
Ilya Paltov, how's he been doing?
I don't know. We got to ask my boy Cole about that. He's Ilya Paltov specialist we have on payroll just for that specific purpose. I'm the Jack Berglund specialist. But regardless,
not as much hype there. Not as flashy.
I genuinely, I don't think he's that good. But you need to find some guys who have high-end talent. I think this year, if the pick ends up in the right place, you can get that guy, right? You can get somebody who can do that. But I personally want to see a big move at the draft, I think, is where you need to do it, is at the draft, and really just catch some team that may be lost in the playoffs and wants to shake up down the middle, and see if you can just say, hey, here's 2 picks and a roster player or a Tuamala type guy, and maybe that'll entice somebody to get a center that's, Alba Dylan Strome type, where there might be a little bit there that's not, taking full effect in the NHL yet, or a skill set that's something the Flyers are missing. Dylan Cousins, if the Sabres try to pivot to the 5th rebuild in a row, these are the type of things you have to look at, because I don't think it does the Flyers any well to take the pick that they got from the Flames and make all these, 3 first-round picks, 4 second-round picks. Like, where are these guys going to play? Seriously, where are these guys going to develop? Even Lehigh, at a certain point, would get pretty packed out if you are selecting all these young guys.
I wouldn't mind having a few good players at Lehigh. I don't think they even have more than 2 good players. You got Samu, you got Andre down there.
Gaucher was the first center called up. That tells you all you need to know. Like, you look up and down the roster. You are right. You look up and down the roster. It's just not. There's nobody there that can help the NHL team. Really, I mean, you can talk about the defensive guys there, but Adam Ginning and Helgi Grans, like they're just guys. They're placeholders for better players.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to see the Flyers make 7 picks.
No, they're not going to make 7 picks. I don't want to see them make. I think 4 would be almost too much.
Yeah. I would think. I think that's a sweet spot for that.
Yeah, trade up, maybe the Sens. We can go back to the Senators as a potential trade partner if Stützle, Norris, Pinto, one of those guys, if they want to switch things up. So
yeah, Pinto would interest me. I don't think they trade Norris. I think Norris would have to be a big package. I think the Senators fancy themselves as a pretty decent team, and I think they have a decent enough core where they can kind of trick themselves into saying, yeah, we're good enough to try and compete with these guys, because they're just young still, right? Like, Jake Sanderson's still pretty young. Yeah. Shabbat's relatively young. Stützle's still young. Kachuk's still young, and they all came up together. So I think they want to see that through with Allmark, if he can, find his former form, and Ottawa can stop ruining goalies sneakily. They have done the same thing as the Flyers have for past ever, since like Patrick Lalime. I'm trying to think of.
That's a better name than I could pull there. So I was trying to think.
Yeah, he had the Martian mask. I always remember it as a kid because that was funny. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of things the Flyers can do. But getting back to the trade itself, I don't think I can really have a strong opinion of it until I see what happens at the draft. And if they don't make any moves at the draft, if they end up taking, or if they make a small move, they move a 2nd-round pick for somebody in a roster player, and they don't make an impactful, deal, then I can say, I don't really necessarily love doing that, especially if they walk, or if he it totally doesn't work with Torts, it totally doesn't work with the room, and Kuzmenko just sort of plays similar to how he was in his later stretch in Calgary, where if he's not scoring, he doesn't really provide anything, and he kind of relies on a high shooting percentage. But we'll have to see. I can't have a strong opinion on it until they make a deal, but I can see why some people were very strongly against it, because on the face, it does kind of look like you're just shuffling deck chairs around on the team that's not really that good, and you're getting a 2nd-round pick, and that when you already have 3, right? Yeah. If you didn't have a 2nd-round pick, I think that's good. That's a good deal. But where they currently sit with the assets they have, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, and if they don't make another move, it helps the tank. You're losing 2 established NHLers for Kuzmenko and Pelletier, and maybe this leads to a Risto trade. I saw something like Tortorella said, when asked about how this is going to affect the room, he was like, "Oh, we might not be done yet." So I don't know if that means maybe they finally like, all right, Scott Lawton, you got this room good enough. Let's let you go chase the cup somewhere and get an actual middle six center for you. Like, because I think Toronto ends up being the place he gets traded to if he does get moved. I don't know if they.
Well, okay, so this, yeah, that I agree with that, but this was I was talking to Thomas about this, funnily enough, before. It would be funny if you could catch the Leafs, because the Leafs, being near Toronto, I always am inundated with like Leafs talk.
Yeah,
how the Leafs, and it's always the same. So they're at their point in the season where they're kind of taking a little dip, and they're going to dip before into the Four Nations and probably after it because they have a few guys going there. Maybe they get a bit of rest and they come out hot. But I think by the time they get to the deadline, the secondary scoring of the Leafs has been a big problem. It's been a big talking point for them, and they, to the point where they're talking about maybe we should get Yanni Gourde. Why would you ever want to get Yanni Gourde? And Yanni Gourde's injured now, so they're not getting Yanni Gourde. But I think they can twist themselves into a spot where they're like, yeah, we need Scott Lawton for a depth scoring. And then they'll end up playing with David Kampf and Pontus Holmberg, and the line will suck. But if you could get Fraser Minton,
yeah.
I don't think we were talking about Easton Cowan. I think Easton Cowan is the guy you move for a bad defenseman, and then he just sucks for the Leafs, and that's how it always goes. They trade for, the Leafs hypothetically trade for Risto, and he immediately goes back to Buffalo Risto and loses some playoff series.
Give him Lawton and Risto.
I can see it all in my head. It's happened every time they face up against the Habs, have home ice advantage, and Risto gives the puck away like Gudas did against the Penguins. And Gudas and Manning, he has a Gudas and Manning impression back from that last playoff series against the Penguins. I can see that happening. But yeah, I think Fraser Minton, if you can get Lawton, and I don't know what else you would give with Lawton. I don't know how much the Leafs value Minton. I think they like him, but don't love him. But if you could somehow swing that, I think that's the trade you have to go. If I'm Danny, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Minton for Lawton plus, or Minton for somebody on the roster, maybe Risto. That's what I would like to look after. It's a crazy, but they get so desperate sometimes. I don't understand it.
I mean, they only have so many years left. This is Marner's free agent.
Marner's a free agent.
Yeah, this is their.
So they're just going to pay him now.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can trade an OHL guy or an AHL guy with Minton down there for, I mean, I'm not sure who else they would want besides Risto. Like, do they make it a bigger deal and get like a York? Do they get an Andre in that deal? Like,
I could see. I've heard York come up a couple times as a tradable piece. I could see them maybe doing that and convincing themselves that that's a good deal to make, just because he is a bit younger.
Yeah.
But I think Lawton, I think Lawton is the guy that they might want to look at as a forward. Ryan Poehling, even maybe if he was healthy, honestly, like he's had a good year, but again, Poehling's not going to get you a big return. I think Lawton's got a higher perceived value around the league, especially with the Leafs. The Leafs seem really locked in on. They were interested at a time, at least, to get Lawton. So I don't know. I'll have to see. There's a lot of moving parts. There's going to be a lot of moving parts throughout the rest of the season. But one thing's for sure, there's probably going to be a lot more games like this.
Yeah, there are. I mean, and hopefully we'll have Kuzmenko to watch and Pelletier to watch, and Michkov can hopefully regenerate those batteries during the Four Nations break and come out flying out of it, because it's good. I mean, they have a tough schedule. They got Utah coming up, come home, face the Capitals, face the Penguins before that Four Nations. So should be interesting.
Just one last thing I wanted to mention. Nick Seeler, dog.
That's it.
Poor guy.
Absolutely.
Poor guy's just taking pox.
Does Toronto want a Nick Seeler, Scott Lawton for one of those centers? Toronto would love him.
Get Tanev and Sealer. You don't even need a goalie.
Yeah, I know.
Just block everything. And McCabe, oh my God. Honestly, that is actually really beneficial for the Leafs, I think. You play him on the bottom pair, or you play him with, I would like Sealer and OEL. I think I'm really intrigued by something like that if I'm the Leafs.
Would Nick Sealer waive his no trade clause, though? Yes, Nick Sealer has a no trade clause, full no trade clause.
Nick Delorier has a no trade clause, doesn't he? I think Nick Delorier has a no trade clause.
Delorier does not, at least according to Puckpedia here. But
okay, I swore.
No,
maybe not anymore. I swear he did, but
it was Nick Sealer. I mean, the Flyers could have traded him last deadline and that extended him. So we can hope. We can hope.
I mean, I think that's the type of package, like a depth defenseman and a depth forward with a little bit of scoring. That's what the team will should try and exploit if they want to trade more guys off the roster, and if it's not going to be picks. But yeah, I think they would be interested in that. They've been playing Phil Myers sometimes infrequently, so that was fun to see him back.
How did they get Phil Myers? That's amazing.
He was with the Marlies for a bit, and then I think they signed him to an NHL contract. Or
they signed him like some extension right before he played. The Flyers.
Yeah. So good for Phil. I always had a soft spot for Phil Myers, but you can definitely improve on that. So yeah, I think that's something that may be interesting. We have to see, because there are a lot of pieces that teams depth wise would be interested in. It's just a matter of if you can get something of value back for them, really.
Yeah, I keep going back to when the Bruins got Hathaway and Orlov from the Capitals like a few years ago. They were both pending free agents, so it's a different situation. But just like something like that, where that playoff team wants that grit, they want that veteran presence there, and then the Flyers have not necessarily that, but they have guys that can bring a little bit of it.
Yeah, no, and with Craig Berube being there, with the Chief being there, you figured he wants a couple more horses like that to take him into the playoffs. You'd assume.
It's a good point. It's a good point there. Yeah.
And Brad Treliving also, a bit different of a mindset than Kyle Dubas was, for sure. Yep. So have to see. I mean, it's interesting though. The Sealer name is not one I've heard brought up in that context, but if I think you could get Lawton and Sealer for Mitten, and like I don't even know what else, maybe even nothing else, probably nothing else. But I think I like Luchenko Mitten for long term. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Leafs Puckpedia page. Defenseman, you just got O'Reilly till 2030, Tanev till 2030, OEL till 2028, McCabe till 2030. Like just these old guys. Riley is the youngest out of him at 30 years old,
and he's the oldest at the core right now. He looks like the oldest. He has been.
Really?
No, people in Toronto are turning on Morgan Riley, 100%. He has not been good. He has not been scoring, and they do not like him right now. That is the sports talk radio topic is right now. They usually find a scapegoat. I thought it was going to be Marner this year because he is a free agent, but it's been Morgan Riley, which is crazy to me after everything he did for that god awful franchise, and just put his body on the line. Like they were supposed to have won by now. That's the problem. You're supposed to have done something by now.
Yeah.
Morgan Riley is getting older. Like, he's not a big guy. He was never going to age well as a defenseman. Regardless,
if you had won a Stanley Cup, you would have been more acceptable with Morgan Riley's contract.
Would have a statue.
Yeah, we're getting way off topic here.
We're gone now. What are we going to talk about this game? There was nothing going on in this game anyway.
But we got to an hour somehow, and I'm probably recording a podcast with Joe tomorrow, and I recorded a lot of talking about this trade here. So Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts
about the game?
Has anyone ever told you look like Morgan Frost a little bit?
Oh, okay. I wish I could bring this up. No, I haven't gotten that. But really? if you look at, I guess I can kind of see it actually.
Yeah.
I think I tan better than Morgan Frost.
Okay.
People did skate and try to score. That's true. That's true. Yeah. That definitely did happen. Oh, I can't do that.
Or were you trying to?
Okay.
You can't
I
put
was
it
going
up.
to put it on the
I'll
screen.
put it
Yeah,
up. There
that's the summary. There's the summary of the game.
People did
That's
skate
it.
and try to.
That's all we got. Matt Coronado from the Flames, when he has a helmet with a visor on and I have a helmet with a visor on, look identical. I wish I could put it up on the screen. I think I sent it in the Slack chat before one time. But Matt Coronado with a visor
on the screen
and a red helmet, and me with a red helmet.
I have
and
a white
visor.
helmet here.
No,
Not so.
see,
So
that's
not that. Is that?
There was one specific picture when he got called up. If you look up his call up picture, it looked exactly like how I look on the ice. It's very, very uncanny.
Is it? Was it? Let me show the stats. Is it this one here? What do you got?
No, it was like literally his call up
graphic.
Like the welcome to the NHL graphic. Yeah, like the NHL graphic.
Oh,
I don't know.
You're making me go on a.
Oh no, it's that one. Right. It's that one. It's in the practice jersey. In the practice jersey, right there.
This one here.
Yeah, that one. Me with the helmet on is identical. It's the exact same.
Yeah. Let me switch us around. There you go. Can you make that face for me? Can you make that face? Wait, no, that's. I need to open the image in the tab. Do that.
I look scared though.
There we go.
Yeah.
I could see it. I could see it a little bit there. Yeah.
I got to put the helmet on. See, I need the helmet, and it's the full thing. I'll send it in the Slack later again.
Next time.
Yeah. Run it back. Yeah, I'll get the helmet on later.
All right. Make sure you follow Broad Street Hockey everywhere. 16 cents a day, and follow us on Blue Sky. All right. See you guys.
Check out the website.